Welcome to Sparks of Love. I hope you're all having a great day. So we've come up to the finale, season 1 finale of Sparks of Love, and I've had just an incredible time having really honest conversations with you, the viewers, the listeners, and also with the studio guests. I thought for this wrap-up session, I would just be in studio by myself and then talk with studio owner Scott Fitzgerald. So Scott's here. Thank you so much for chatting with me this Saturday morning, Scott.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be here, and I'm floating over the spacey Sparks of Love background, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah, no, I love it. Big thanks. I think that was Evan's creation. So he did, just as soon as I saw it, I'm like, yes, this is awesome. So big shout out to Evan for that. So during the course of the podcast recordings, I had a lot of people interested in being guests, and for the season 1, there just wasn't enough time to fit everybody in. But it's great. It shows how much this podcast, Sparks of Love, is resonating with people. There's just a need for more love in the world. And I think the way that I've approached it has been kind of a combination of art project, which is what I started out, but it also became a research project, and that's my background. That's what my degree from UCLA is in, psychology research. I worked in a lot of research labs, and so I've really approached it that way, but it's also just literally a labor of love. But I just thought, this is something that everybody needs in their life. Everyone needs love. It resonates with us. Sometimes we have more love. We have more, loving people in our lives than not. Other times we're lacking in that. I think this podcast started because I was wanting to reset when I became an empty nester. I'm like, okay, what am I doing here? What am I doing next? What do I need? But the other day I was driving down the road, and I'd just gotten back from hiking after work, and I just felt so happy, and I was in nature. I was in the woods. And so more on that later. But because we had, some time constraints and all the guests couldn't come in, there was one very special set of data that I received that I wanted to start off today's podcast with. So I asked my son with special needs, he has autism, his name is Jerri, and he goes to an ARC program that serves adults with autism, and they do things like deliver meals on wheels, and they learn how to cook, and the hope is eventually to serve food in the community. There's a couple of places that do hire special needs individuals. But I realized I hadn't asked my son and the individuals at his ARC what love was. And so I reached out to the ARC and I asked them if they would be willing to. And they said yes anonymously. So I have a dozen responses here. So what love means to adult individuals with special needs. And it's so unfiltered and so pure and sweet. So I'm going to read those to you to start off the season finale. Love means to care and help people out and love them as best you can. That one really got me. Love them as best you can. There's so much empathy in that. The second one, love means friendship and the people around you. Love means to love everybody. I mean, that one's going to make me cry because it's so much their need. Like, they want to be loved too. Love is being nice and being affectionate. Love means to like a person more than a friend. Love means somebody that cares about somebody else. Love means when you like someone a whole lot and they mean a whole lot to you. Love means when I love everybody a lot. Love means feelings and chocolate. I'm like, yes, sir. That's right. Love means saying I love you to someone. Love means to love each other. And the last one, love means you treat each other equally and to be there for one another always. I just thought those were so sweet and innocent. Didn't you agree with me, Scott?
Oh, yeah. And the part that I really love about that, like you said, sweet and innocent, it really gets down to the basis of love. Like if you think of a child, what a child views love as, it wipes away all of the garbage that we learn as we get older, and it gets right down to the purity of it. That's why I like it.
That's exactly right. And just last night, in preparation for the episode, the finale, I've been spending so much time thinking about this. We've had to reschedule a few times. I somehow got pulled down the internet wormhole, going down there. And there was a woman who's in her late 50s, and I looked at her profile. Pretty woman, and she said the saddest thing, and this is just some internet post on, I think Instagram or something, and she said, "I wish I had love like that." And she was talking about a song lyric, and she goes, "But it's too late for me. I spent my life," she said, I wasted my life loving people who didn't love me. And I was like, oh, and it was such an awful thing to say and to think, and I just had so much empathy for her. And I looked at the comments, and all these people responded from all over the world saying, no, it's never too late to find love. Don't think that you've wasted your life. I've known people who are in their 80s who found love. And one gentleman said, I know a couple in their 90s who met in a nursing home and fell in love, and they call each other the loves of their life.
I hear those stories all the time when I do my, can I give myself my radio show?
Yes, absolutely.
When I do afternoons on Adirondack 105, everything that rocks. Yeah. But so I talk about all different, it's a radio, a music show. So it's not a lot of talk. So I'll do these quick little blurbs and stuff like that. And I will always pick, my favorite kind of stories are when people, 100 years old or 90 years old get together. Maybe they used to date when they were in high school and now they finally got married. Mm-hmm. Or the other ones I like is when someone loses a ring or something a long time ago, and then somebody finds it and they use social media to find the person, find the original owner. I love those stories. I'm getting goosebumps now just thinking about it.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, there's always hope. I don't like the word waste. And I think I was tempted when I first got divorced, thinking, oh my God, he stole my youth from me. He took my best years. And a couple of people said that, but I bristle at that now that I've healed. And just the other day, I was talking to a friend after work, just casually on the phone, and the ex's name just stumbled off the edge of my lips. And I have not said his name in 12 years. I call him the ex. In my book, Surviving Mad Men, I call him the ex for, slander and liability purposes. I don't want to get in trouble with that. But I've always thought he doesn't deserve to have my name. His name said doesn't deserve to have space in my mouth. But the other day, his name just casually floated off my lips, and I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel vicious rage in my chest. I didn't feel churning in my stomach. It was just like I was saying, Scott, hey, Scott, to you. Yeah. And I'm like, huh. And after I got off the call, I actually said his name, and I feel nothing. And I'm like, I think I'm finally healed. It's 12 years, and I feel nothing when I said his name. No vitriol, no anger, no resentment. I don't feel like those years were wasted. I feel like those years were a period of time that got me out of North Carolina into California. I grew up basically in North Carolina, but I became an adult in Los Angeles, went to school out there, got a research degree, saw the country, and have 4 beautiful children. So those were not wasted years. That was a story, and it had an end. And now I'm ready for new stories. And maybe I'll be one of those people that, if I end up in a nursing home, that I find the love of my life at 93. I don't know, but I'm not going to say I've wasted my life. I'm not going to say it's too late. I'm not also going to focus on it. I think one of the things I learned from this podcast is that there's no urgency, and I already have so much love around me. So it's just one of the saddest things when people think that. So if there's any benefit that this podcast has, it's to encourage people that it's never too late to find love. And there's lots of different forms of love. So I just wanted to say that.
And you're like the busiest person that I've ever met. You go to all these concerts. You're going hiking. You're in the Rotary. You're in all these different organizations, and you always lend your leadership skills to all these things. And so for anyone to even imply that anything's too late for you, I mean, you're constantly going. And so when you do so many things, it's inevitable that something new is going to get in your path. Yeah, you just don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen.
I was thinking about that. Like the way I've met most people is when I was actually kind of reaching out and doing something. So I remember just meeting, when I met the ex, I was, dating someone he had gone to college with, and I had moved to a new place, and that's how I met him. And the way I've had my career was doing volunteer work. Like every single thing I've done, like my job as a congressional press secretary was from the volunteer work I did at the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle, where I was on their editorial board. And that led me to meeting my good friend Alex, and he ended up hiring me after my congressional gig ended. So all these things, I put myself out there into the world. And I don't stay busy for the purpose of being busy. I actually am just an intellectually curious person. I like doing good stuff. It feels good. I think that we really are put on this earth to make it better than, we found it. I'm such a believer in that. Speaking of that, one of the things that I've done for my son with autism, and I have 4 children, they're all grown, they're all out of the house. No one would hire Jared. And so I created Blue Ridge Barbecue Sauce. This is I'm the CEO and founder of Blue Ridge Barbecue Sauce, and Jared and I go around to all these festivals, and we have a booth, and it gives him a quote unquote job. And we only do it a couple of times a year, but it gives him a sense of purpose. And we've met a wonderful group of people from this. Polly Guglielmo of Craft Cannery is our bottler at Cannery. He's also the incoming leader of the Rochester Rotary, which I'm a new member of. So just all the different things that you do to do good in the world, there's always like a return of love. You don't do it for that, but it's what ends up happening. So I just, if you're looking for some great barbecue sauce, my son would be very happy. Blue Ridge BBQ sauce.us is our website.
And it is amazing.
Thank you. It's authentic North Carolina marinade style. So it's not your thick, sweet, sticky, which is fine. That's a different kind of sauce. Mine is authentic Western North Carolina style. It won't mess up your grill. It's healthy. And it breaks down the chicken or whatever. It's even, you can do, it on vegetables, but it breaks it down really nice the night before. I know your wife loves it.
Yeah. And she is probably the pickiest person in the world.
Yeah.
And I can never find the right sauce for her. Yeah. And I'm like, well, we're going to try this. This is Jerry's sauce.
Yeah.
And
Jared's sauce.
It was Jared's sauce. And she was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
She's like, you better get a case.
Yeah, and that's what I keep hearing. Like my periodontist, Julie Beach, Dr. Julie Beach, she said that her son doesn't like the mass-produced, sticky, thick ones, but he loves this sauce. And I have so many people that say that. Bob Murphy, former sheriff's deputy, who actually helped, save my sons during some bad times for us during the divorce. He loves it, and he's from the UK, and he has very particular grilling taste. So there's a lot of people that like that this resonates with them. My dad, being a meat cutter, Larry Sparks, he was really proud of me for this because it's following in my family heritage. It's a family of grocery workers and meat cutters. So it felt really good to bring all that love of my culture, my family, and then for my son. So it's just an example of you can embed love into your lives in so many different ways. And if it's authentic, it will really resonate with them. So, but, I was thinking about this. When I was a little girl growing up in Western North Carolina, very rural part of the country, the northwest corner, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' houses on both sides of my family. On one side, it was wild and wide open woods. That was the Spark side in Trap Hill, North Carolina. We'd be out in the woods all day long. And my ma, Bertie Sparks, she taught us cousins which plants we could eat. She would say, don't eat this one or you will die, or this one's okay for snacking. And she'd just let us go off in the woods all day long. And sometimes we had shoes on, sometimes we didn't. There was about, at least at any given time, there's at least 6 of us. It was Curtis, Carol, Mary, we call Tad, Karen, Jason, Seth, Mandy, Corey, Sally, these were all of us cousins, and we'd be out there playing in the woods literally all day long. And she, just trusted us, and she'd leave her bedroom window open, and we would come in through the window and go have lunch, and then right back out into the woods. And I remember to keep us busy, she would give us acorns and a needle and thread, and we'd make acorn necklaces. Somebody gave her a can of silver paint, and I remember us spray painting the acorn necklaces and laying it out on tree stumps to let it dry, and just love those acorn necklaces. Like, she was very clever with how she kept us busy. But, we all needed her lessons, and we stayed safe. And she wasn't a hoverer, she just she had a lot of grandkids. So she had 7 kids, or actually 8. Just let us run wild. And I think that was really important for me, because I am someone that just likes that freedom, just to go and explore, because I've had it since I was born. Like, from the moment I was born, I was out playing in the woods. We got dirty, filthy. I remember my grandpa on my mom's side, the Johnsons, he was very fine, always dressed with his fedora and his nice khaki pants. And he came up to visit me, which is like 45 minutes to the north, because they lived near Winston-Salem, and my Spark side lived in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And he came to visit me when I was 4, because he really missed me. And I had spent most of the first 4 years of my life at their house. And he said he was so dismayed when he came to pick me up, and I was like, you could see white eyes and nothing else. I was just like covered in dirt. But I think it made me healthy. I hardly ever get sick. But we got cut, we got scratched. I have scars from climbing up trees and falling. I have a scar on my leg and my arm from all the different trees we explored and fell down on. We used to take saplings and bend them to the ground and sit on it, and then the other person who's holding it would let it go. So like riding a bucking bronco tree.
Like a catapult.
It was, and you held on for dear life. It was crazy stuff. And if we got cut, my Ma Sparks, she had this little tin called Porter Salve, and she would dab it on us, and that was it. Like, it was the only medicine. We didn't get taken to the doctor. It was just completely wild in the woods and wonderful. And the reason I didn't cry about it is I knew my cousins were out there in the woods, and I had to go. Like, I didn't want to miss out on the fun that they were having. Such a tough existence. Like, I became really tough because of, my gang of cousins. And then on my other grandparents' side, the Johnsons, they were almost the complete opposite. It was a cool house with the fan always going. The air was very cool. There was a piano in the back hallway. Everything completely needed all time. So on one side, I had wild fun and chaos. On the other side, it was, refined music, wonderful coconut cake on the table, cold sodas in the fridge. It was just 2 different worlds, and I loved them both equally. And it was a village setting instead of this rural woods setting. And there was a general store we could walk to with my cousins Sharon and Jennifer and Stephanie and Tony and Tina. And then there was a dinette across the street that my grandma ended up working in, an ice cream shop called Poor John's. The general store, they had a walk-in cooler. You could literally walk into it, and the cold sodas were there. Cheerwine was my favorite. And we would just get that hot day on our heels and just go inside and that cooler and get this cold drinks. And it was so hot, the tar actually bubbled on the side streets. I don't know if that's why they call it Tar Heels or not, but it literally, you could see the tar bubbling. It was that hot. And so the sodas taste really good. And I still have a kind of an affinity for a good cold Cheerwine. And every time I go back home, I get a case. I bring it back up here. It's a cherry soda that I love. But my grandma, Mama and Papa Johnson, they also loved gardening, and they had a garden right off the side of the kitchen, and we would go out there in the evenings and pick our dinner. We would get corn on the cob and just bring it in straight from the garden and boil it. Oh. And so that was one of the things when I moved here from Los Angeles after college, I wanted my kids to experience that. So I planted a garden, and we had 7 fruit trees. I had grapevines, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, salad, herbs. And some of my favorite memories looking back at my kids' childhood is looking when they've got their little baskets and they're out picking their dinner. And they love it. And to this day, they're all 4 foodies, and they'll eat pretty much anything, because they know where it comes from. And they would just pick the chives, pick the salad, pick the fruit. It's just I didn't want to raise them in Los Angeles for that reason. I wanted them to have the kind of freedom I had, barefoot, climbing the tree, picking your dinner. And they did that. I remember with Mama and Papa, they could do so many different things. They played all these musical instruments. Grandma always had on the windowsill plant cuttings that would root, and so I learned how to do that. She could save anything. I currently have an orchid on my windowsill I'm trying to rehabilitate in her honor. It's not going well. I don't have her green thumb. And she did it in like these little craft pimento cheese jars. Like pimento cheese comes in little glass jars, and she would repurpose those. So she was an early repurposer, recycler, even before it was like a cool thing to do. But, she was very patient. And I remember just thinking, how can she wait that many weeks for some cutting to grow roots? And how did she even know? But it was historical knowledge handed down from her ancestors. Like this is just hundreds and hundreds of years ago. That's everybody was, an agrarian culture. And they haven't lost that where I'm from. They still do that. And so I'm trying to, hand that down to my kids, that knowledge of how to be patient with things and they'll grow. And I remember asking her one time when I saw the little roots coming out, like, how did you know that, Mama? How did you know that? And her reply, patience. And I've never forgotten that, just to be patient. I'm probably a work in progress with that. I'm very patient in many ways, but there's some things I could work on. And so I was thinking about like the lessons that my grandparents taught me. And so here they are. Family is everything. A little cut won't stop you. Don't consume toxic things. And I think that's, both literally and metaphorically. And be patient, and things meant for you will grow. These things are love handed down through time that will never leave me. And I'm trying to, pass that on to my children. And I was thinking about it last night, and it reminds me of one of my favorite poets is Mary Oliver. She has just a wealth of, poems, but there's one in particular that I love. And I actually don't even know the title, but here is the poem I'm going to recite. What can I say that I have not said before? So I'll say it again. The leaf has a song in it. Stone is the face of patience. Inside the river, there is an unfinishable story, and you are somewhere in it, and it will never end until all ends. Take your busy heart to the art museum and the Chamber of Commerce, but take it also to the forest. The song you heard singing in the leaf when you were a child is singing still. I am of years lived, so far 74, and the leaf is singing still. It's just, I get like chills. And so I thought about that. My favorite part of that poem is stone is the face of patience. And I brought my favorite stone with me. I carry it with me. It's a piece of granite, and I keep it on my desk. And in meetings, I'll just run my fingers across it, just kind of getting that feedback. It's always cold. I think not like freezing cold, but a nice, soothing, relaxing cool. And just touching it relaxes me. And stone is the face of patience. This rock has been patient for eons, and yet it persists. Yet it's still here. And I think it's a symbol of my resolve, my hope to be patient. And, I'm still here. So I loved it. And, just thinking about the symbolism of that. On Wednesday, I was out in my yard, just looking around, seeing what kind of gardening that I have to do. And suddenly I noticed this butterfly bush that everybody told me last year was dead. It had no leaves. It had just, looked pitiful. And I love butterfly bushes. I couldn't make myself kill it. I couldn't pull it up its roots. And I hate when you think something's dead and you pull it up and you see the little roots there, and then you try to save it. It almost never works. Once you've pulled it up, it's gone. But I'm patient with my garden plants, and I give them seasons before I decide that, okay, they've had their chance. I've given them all the love and nurturing I can. And so I didn't pull up the butterfly bush last year. It's right when you walk up my back door. And I look down, the whole thing's blooming, like the whole thing. There's leaves all over that thing.
We have a picture of that, right?
I do. Yeah, I have a picture of that. We can show that. And I know it's a simple thing, and I'm out in the yard at 6:30 in the morning in my pajamas, just like teary-eyed. I'm like fist pumping, like, yeah, it made it through the harsh, cold, snowy Rochester winter, and I gave it a chance. I was patient. And now I've got this beautiful plant, and it's going to have butterflies landing on it. It's got these gorgeous, deep purple, very sweet scented blossoms.
So here's one photo.
That's there's a tiny little leaf there you can see in the very background.
So you have it circled.
There it is. That right there is a symbol of patience. There is life. And then to the left of it is all the beautiful leaves that are already growing that I didn't expect to happen. So when I saw that poem, I'm like, oh my God, this happened like the very next day. It's like, wow, that was kind of, I needed to see that. What looked like a dead stump last fall is now a beautiful, thriving plant. And I think sometimes that's a symbol for our heart. Maybe 12 years ago, my heart was a dead stump. I was done with love. I was done with guys. I was done with just freaking everything. I was done over it all. And now I'm like driving back from Webster 2 days ago and feeling so happy. I was out in Gosnell Park and just so much gorgeous verdant emerald green around, and, out to dinner and hiking with my friends. There's so much love in my life, and it's because I actually was patient. I did the work. I built the things. I created the groups. I have a hiking group, I have a barbecue sauce company. I've joined the Rotary. Like, I am building in love to my life because it's intentional and it's patient. There were the years where I was a single parent, whereas all I could do just to get, out of my pajamas and into the shower. Thankfully, those days are behind me, but it's because I was patient. And I think that if we take the leaf and the stone, the leaf and the stone, the symbols of patience and regrowth, that is what I have in my life now. And you just want you all to know that if you take that symbolism of stone is the face of patience and the leaf has a song in it still, I think that you will find love in your life. I certainly have a lot of love in my life, and thank you all for listening to this season of Sparks of Love. It has been wonderful for me. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the other side. And as for me now, true to my nature, I am headed out to the Adirondacks. I am going hiking right now. I'm leaving right now. So anyway, I hope you have a great rest of your summer, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. Little hat on. Get it out.